This is not going to be your standard show. Apparently, Mark Evans, in his 2026 groundbreaking documentary called Capturing Bigfoot, provides startling new evidence, he says, that finally proves the most famous Sasquatch film of all time is nothing more than a, quote, incredible hoax. This is a special, unscheduled show that we decided to do since this subject came up. So, after the death of her father, an Olympic college film instructor named Teresa Brooks, her father's name was Norm Johnson, she reached out to a filmmaker and colleague called Mark Evans. This is the guy that made the documentary. Apparently, she found a 16mm film found in a locked safe of her father's after her father passed away. Norm Johnson had worked in a Boeing film lab during the years that the PGF, the Patterson-Gimlin Film, we're just going to call it the PGF, was made, and was connected to Patterson-Gimlin through Johnson's brother Dave. I haven't researched that connection between Dave Johnson and Patterson-Gimlin. In all the research that I've done, cursory research and stuff, and going back and looking at it, Dave Johnson, the name Dave Johnson has never come up. So that's that. I don't know. Obviously, they have some kind of proof that he was connected to Bob and Roger somehow. But anyway, Evans developed the film and discovered a 40-second clip that was created in 1966, a year before the PGF was shot, which shows, allegedly, a dress rehearsal of a skinnier Bigfoot, and I use that term reluctantly because I hate the term Bigfoot, but it shows a skinnier Bigfoot walking through a wooded area similar to the later PGF. We are going to discuss this topic, this so-called groundbreaking film, and all of the controversies that it claims. Could it really be the nail in the coffin for the PGF that finally proves, inarguably, that it's a hoax?
Dun 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 dun. Oh, sorry.
Okay, Patricia Patterson, who's Roger Patterson's widow, and her brother-in-law Al Diatley, who passed away in 2019 from a stroke, they were the last known individuals to have access to the original PGF. The reel was believed to have been sent to the American National Enterprises, which was a film company that had intended to produce a documentary about Bigfoot. However, A&E went bankrupt around 1972. The film trail was lost, and from that point on, investigators such as John Green, Renee Dahinden, and Peter Byrne tried and spent a lot of money and a lot of travel time trying to locate the original film without success. By the mid-1970s, the original footage was officially considered missing.
Wow.
But anyway, it was Al Diatley who ran with the PGF and rented community halls across the country and made money, all the money from this 1967 PGF, leaving Bob Gimlin out of the loop, then eventually left Roger out of the loop as well. Bob Gimlin eventually sued Diatley and Patricia Patterson in 1974, and it was settled out of court. So he finally got his money.
Yeah.
We've known about other attempts at capturing Sasquatch on film by Patterson were staged for a very long time. In our original show, which we just listened to, by the way,
Right.
we talk about it. That
Right,
he did make other attempts to hoax it.
Right.
That was a well-known fact. They've never denied that. But the fact is this: they took their horses, they took all their gear, and they went out camping, and they caught the footage.
Yeah.
Authentically. They did not hoax the PGF. That was what was so astounding about it. Basically, these prior attempts by Patterson to hoax the film were why people like Bob Hieronymus and Philip Morris had come forward saying, oh yeah, I created the suit. Yeah, I'm the one that wore the suit. It's because of these prior attempts to hoax the film.
Right.
That's why I don't understand why anyone would be jumping out of their seats to hear this news. We got evidence that there was a rehearsal. Well, we already know that. We already know those rehearsal films.
Yeah, we knew that.
My point to this is that means they had the costume. That means this rehearsal footage shows the original costume unpadded. That's the smoking gun to me.
Right.
Where's the costume?
Yeah, where's the costume? Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Mark Evans, the the director of this new documentary, got in touch with Patterson's oldest son, Clint, who's a 66-year-old Montana rancher who would have been around 7 years old at the time the PGF was released in 1967, and he was eager to talk. Quote, he'd learned the film was a fake from his mother years earlier and had been wanting to come out and tell his story, says Evans. The lie had been very hard on him, and he was ready and wanting to get out from under it. Unquote. Patricia Patterson and her son Clint allegedly had some sort of reunion during this documentary because apparently she disowned her son after he said he wanted to come out with a book, this tell-all book, to come clean about the hoax his father had perpetrated.
Yeah.
This was the claims.
Right.
Roger Patterson's widow, Patricia, has always been a long-standing proponent for the authenticity of the film. Her son Clint said that she admitted to him, like 10 years ago, that it was a hoax. Supposedly, they see the rehearsal film together for the first time in the documentary.
Yeah.
Patricia Patterson knows that the 1967 Patterson film, the PGF, is legitimate and there is no hoax. She has said that very firmly her entire life. Since that time, she does not say otherwise in this documentary, nor does Bob Gimlin, contrary to false reports and false rumors on social media. So apparently people are saying, oh, she came clean and said, yeah, you got us. But apparently that's not so.
Yeah.
According to people that have seen the film. It hasn't been accessed to the public yet. It's going to be available for streaming sometime in April, I believe. Which is why we're jumping on it now, because everybody's going around, they're getting the headlines they want. Remember, we always talk about the headlines when we talk about debunking. It's a tactic that they use to put the idea out there before there's any evidence. You don't need evidence.
Right.
You just say, oh, we have proof it's a fake, and that's it. It's a fake.
And nowadays, people's attention span is so short that that's all they do is read the headlines.
That's
they
all
don't
they read
even
is
read
the
the articles.
Yeah, they just see the headline. Oh, it's fake, really? And then move on.
Yeah,
they're
move on.
looking at something else.
Yeah.
That's
I've
exactly.
been guilty of it.
I do it too.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they bank on, in my opinion.
100%.
That's what the skeptics want, because all they have to do is get the headline, and that's it. It doesn't matter who watches the film, who believes it yay, who believes it nay. It doesn't matter. They just want that ability to try to cast doubt and form public opinion. It's what we refer to now affectionately as fake news. Telling a fuller picture of who Roger Patterson was, Evans leans on Cliff Patterson, the eldest son, whose relationship with his father was considered quote-unquote hero worship. But the son also wound up calling him a liar during the documentary. So obviously he worshipped his father as a hero. Now remember, Roger Patterson would have passed away when Clint was only 12.
Right.
How well could you get to know your father when you didn't even know him as an adult?
Correct.
You only have childhood memories of him.
Right.
So
because in all aspects of your life, your relationship's going to change because you're growing and you're going to see different types of characteristics of your parents as you grow.
Right, because you're becoming an adult and you're maturing.
Right, you become a parent, as you become old enough to drink.
Exactly. So, him losing his father at 12, I don't want to say that he couldn't have formed a strong bond, but that's basically what I'm saying. How much of a bond can you form when your father's already starting to die?
Right, because he was sick.
He was already sick.
Yeah,
he was sick for years.
Yeah.
So he was probably bedridden and having all kinds of issues and going through chemo and all that.
Yeah.
That's what he remembers his father as. So how much of a bond can you have with your dad? That's just number one.
Yeah.
And then number two, to come out and call him a liar and say that your mother said, oh yeah, she said it was a hoax, but then so very suspicious behavior.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion. What makes the story even more complicated and tragic, says Evans, is that Patterson, who by all accounts truly believed in Bigfoot's existence, knew that he was dying in 1967 when he made and released the film. Quote, he knew he didn't have long to live and that he was going to be leaving his wife and 3 young kids to take care of, Evans says. So he took a shot at leaving them with some sort of legacy that could possibly help pay their bills, unquote. Now remember that. What happened to the suit that Patterson had painstakingly created? Quote, this is Evans again. Clint told me that he actually saw his father burn the suit out behind the family house one night in a big barrel. He basically spent 30 minutes tossing it into the fire piece by piece. It's estimated today that a suit able to withstand filming seen in the PGF would cost upwards of $10,000 or more, equivalent to back then in the 60s. Now, I haven't seen the film, of course, because it hasn't come out yet for the public, but from information I could gather, cursory research, it doesn't seem the film was authenticated by Kodak or any other film experts. I believe the only way Mark Evans was able to magically determine that the film dates to 1966, a year prior to the PGF, was by some small plus marks on the film footage. And according to him, that means it had to be filmed in 1966 rather than 1967 or later. But these marks, apparently, according to Kodak, are from when the film was manufactured, not from when it was used. So basically, anybody who finds film from 1966 could hoax this and say, oh, this was shot prior to the PGF. You see what I'm saying? The marks don't have anything to do with when it was filmed or when the film was used. It doesn't prove anything, basically, is what my point is.
That's interesting.
Right, and that's one of the major arguments in the film, is that this was a rehearsal film, and it proves the PGF false because it was filmed a year prior, in 1966.
Okay.
So the footage was shown to Bill Munns, who's a Hollywood creature maker, and he's done his own analysis. He's got a whole website of his analysis on the PGF and his own findings and everything. He's considered one of the experts on the PGF. He says the figure in the reel, because obviously he was invited to this premiere or whatever.
Yeah, the premiere, yeah.
So he actually saw the footage. He says the figure in the reel is an obvious man in a hokey suit attempt at Patty. The costume wearer almost perfectly matches the movements and the head turn of the creature walking away in the 1967 footage, as if it was studied closely, which is suspicious because remember, this is supposed to have been filmed a year prior. In his opinion, the rehearsal reel was just a replica of the 1967 PGF, not a trial run for it.
Oh.
So he basically said this is garbage.
Yeah. So he's saying it's just a replica and it probably happened after PGF.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Now, director Mark Evans and his sources say the Kodak reel dates back to 1966 via the edge markings and codes and under expert analysis. It was supposedly shot less than a year before the Bluff Creek as a trial run by Patterson, filming his brother-in-law Al Diatley in a prototype suit at a similar wooded location. Munns says that this is a logical impossibility since the test clip replicates exact PGF elements. You know, like the specific walk, the foot sole display at that one frieze that we showed in our show, where you could see the bottom of the foot, the rider positioning of where the camera was positioned and everything.
Her turning,
all that.
Yeah.
But that only existed October 20th, 1967 during the original filming.
Yeah.
You can't perfectly copy something that hasn't been shot yet.
You're right.
So it makes the quote-unquote rehearsal timeline circular, basically unprovable. Because that's the true smoking gun. If you could come up with the costume that they used and actually film a duplicate film, that's it. That's your smoking gun, that it was faked. But they burned the suit.
Yeah.
You know, again, this is just a emergency show we're recording.
Right.
So we don't have any inarguable truths. What I have is questions that need to be answered.
Okay.
Number 1, why did Clint Patterson, the eldest son, wait so long with his so-called knowledge of the PGF being a hoax? His mother is nearly 100 years old now, and she would have disputed his attempt to call his father a liar. Because remember, she's always said it was real.
Right.
So if he came out with this quote-unquote tell-all book, his mother would have disputed it. But now that she's like practically bedridden and possibly suffering from dementia, now all of a sudden he wants to come forward?
Yeah.
Very suspicious.
Yeah.
Whether you believe in it or not, very suspicious.
Right.
Number 2, why would Patterson burn the suit, which was worth so much money? Because remember, he created the film to pay his family's bills.
Yeah, to leave a legacy and have some money for the kids. So why would he not keep the suit?
Why would you not keep the suit that was worth at least $10,000 estimate?
Yeah.
Are you going to burn that?
Yeah.
Why don't you just burn cash while you're at it?
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? It doesn't make any sense. But not only that, why would you burn the suit and not burn all the rehearsal films?
Right.
Why would you leave one laying around for this guy to have in his vault? Again, very suspicious. None of this is smoking gun evidence that this documentary is crap. All I'm putting forth is these are questions that need to be answered before you decide yay or nay.
Well, okay, gotcha.
Number 3, if this Norm Johnson was involved in developing the original film, why not keep a copy of it? Why did he keep a copy of the rehearsal?
Yeah, that makes sense too.
If you're the one developing this film, which is what they're claiming in this documentary,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you keep a copy of the original?
Yeah, I would have.
Why would you keep a copy of this hokey rehearsal?
Yeah.
Number 4, why not tell anyone that you have this rehearsal footage in your vault? Not even your daughter? Teresa Brooks discovers the film in the vault. Why wouldn't he tell her about it?
Who knows?
The story is that the wife was terrified that they were involved in a hoax and told him, oh, lock it away, destroy all the evidence, and just deny all, involvement with it. Why?
I don't understand.
What an FBI investigation? What, are you going to be arrested?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
again, whether you believe in it or not, whether you
Right.
believe the PGF is fake or not, very suspicious.
Right.
And the last question, in my opinion, that needs to be answered, since the Kodachrome markings on the film cannot prove that the film was made prior to the original PGF, why are they touting it as, quote, indisputable proof that the PGF is fake? Your whole argument's already rocky.
Yeah.
Because you can't even prove, all you can prove is that the film that this reel is on was manufactured prior to the PGF.
Right.
Not that it was filmed prior to the PGF. So where's your whole argument? What do you think about all of this?
I think it's interesting that they're trying to make it a hoax now. Our previous show that we did on the PGF, I was on the fence. I'm still on the fence. But is this documentary, is it going to convince me? Probably not. Mm-hmm. Most likely not.
Okay.
Because it's not about the film to me. What it's about is there's something out there that people have seen, right? And there's a lot of testimony that people have seen. I've heard stories, and you can hear people, when they're telling those stories, they get very emotional. I'm not going to sit there and tell them that they're a liar. I don't know what they've seen. And I understand that this film and this documentary is going to be a big thing in this platform, right? In the Bigfoot platform and stuff. But me being on the fence, I think that it's not going to affect me still. Because I'm not a believer and I'm not a non-believer. You know what I mean? Because you keep showing me the film and I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, well, maybe. Well, you know what I mean? Like I told you, the face looks fake to me. But the rest of it looks very real. So I don't know.
See, I basically agree with you. In my opinion, those who believe in it are still going to believe. And those who didn't believe in it are still not going to believe in it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to change anybody's mind.
Yeah, I don't. And I think if you believe in it and then it changes your mind, you probably weren't a believer in the first place.
You didn't believe in it in the first place. Exactly.
You didn't believe in it.
Overall, I think what sums it up is I saw John Jurgensen from the Wall Street Journal write a quote. And he says, quote, at a time when internet rumors, misinformation bots, and AI-powered deception have made viral conspiracies a daily scourge, the shaky film clip seems like a prequel to the confusion that has engulfed our era and eroded confidence in the very idea of truth.
That is perfect.
Basically what he's saying.
That's the mic drop right there.
Because to me, my basic conclusion is the reason they had to say that the suit was burned is because it's much easier today with our modern technology and AI and all that, much easier to fake a film than it is to fake a physical costume.
Yes.
Because the costume has never been duplicated. I cannot stress that point enough. I don't care how stringent of a skeptic you are or how adamant you are that it's a complete hoax and it was all fake and it's garbage and it's a guy in a suit. I don't care. It's never been duplicated. No one has been able to make a suit anywhere near what you see in the PGF. Period. It's inarguable. You can look all you want. The final point I wanted to make. I've been a long proponent of pareidolia being used by skeptics as evidence that people aren't seeing what they're seeing. Pareidolia doesn't work that way. Pareidolia works opposite of the way the skeptics try to use it, because you have to be looking at something familiar. This is science's definition of pareidolia, not mine. So if you disagree with science. Basically, you're looking at something familiar, like a fence, a wooden fence, and you're seeing a face in the fence, right?
Right.
A witch, whatever, dog face, whatever. At no point is your brain saying, oh my God, there's actually a witch on that fence.
Yeah.
No, because it's familiar to you. You know you're looking at a fence.
Right.
Your brain isn't going to take something familiar and go, oh my goodness, it's a Sasquatch. Do you see what I mean? It doesn't work that way.
No.
Because it has to be familiar. So when you see something that's not familiar,
Right.
your brain is going to try to make it familiar.
Right.
Your brain is going to try to tell you that it has to be a guy in a costume.
Right.
It has to be. What else could it be?
Yeah.
So your brain is smacking you in the head,
Yeah.
smacking you inside your skull, telling you that has to be a man in a costume. It has to be.
Yeah.
Big person in a costume. That's what your brain's telling you. So just remember that and keep that in the back of your mind. Anybody who's looking at the PGF today, keep that in the back of your mind. Your pareidolia is telling you, trying to convince you that you're looking at a person in a suit because it's unfamiliar to you. I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for you guys' support. Hope you like this little
Emergency show.
I guess, added emergency show. Have a good night. Good night.
Good night, everybody.